Hello friends, welcome to 𝘴𝑠𝑓𝑜𝑟ce video session 118. So basically in today's video, we will try to understand one node, which honestly I don't think so, as per my experience is not that much of an important node. I have hardly used that node much, but maybe I would like to share it from a knowledge perspective. I will tell you like how that particular node helps us to fetch the data, or rather see the data as some form of repository. So the node which I'm talking about is the export node of data flow. So let me just quickly go to Analytics Studio and jump back to the data flow and recipe section. So under data flow, as you can see, like we have done till speed section. Okay, I will create one more node. So let me write it as speed session 15. Failed to create because it's already used by another data flow. Okay, that is stream. Let's check. I don't think so. I have 15. Yeah, anyways, not an issue. We will check from here. So in this free session, what I will do is I will take one node. Okay. Let's say I take opportunity. Fine. So I will take opportunity, and what I'm going to do is I will take that object opportunity as well, and I will select a few fields. Maybe I will select ID. Okay, I will select the name. I will select the stage name as well, and I will select the amount. Okay, that's it. Now there's a node which we have, which is known as the export node. Okay, so what happens is through export node, basically, if there are certain data which you want to see through some other kind of tools, okay, in this case we will of course use 𝘏𝘏𝑜𝘏. You can actually analyze and see that data which gets stored as a repository. So let's say I write it as something like opportunity underscore export, and I will write the node. So the target will be Einstein Discovery, which is fine. Now there's one user which you have to select. So if you search with user, there's one user which you have to select, which is known as the integration user. Okay, so this user you need to select so that you can see that data in that repository. Fine. So let me click on create. So this is the SFDC digestion. I'll just click on export, and I will just click on update data flow, and I will run the data flow. Fine. So let it run. The meanwhile, what I will do is basically I will open my workbench. Okay. So let me open the workbench. Now, in case any one of you who doesn't know about workbench, so I mean, we can read this document as well. It's a simple one-liner or a few lines. So it's free to use, but it is not an official Salesforce.com product. So it's not an official product of Salesforce. Has been not officially tested or documented. So it has not been officially tested and documented as well. Okay. But however, some support requests or working should be directed to Statflow. So basically, some way it helps us to get some queries, to get some CSV files in many other ways. But again, it's not an official product. Okay. But anyways, with Workbench, what is done is basically an external tool through which based on certain products which you want to get as an ACV, or based on certain data which you want to insert or update back over there, those parts you can do via Workbench. Okay. Anyways, we won't get into the definition, but it's an external tool, and what I will do is through that external tool we will get to know if that repository is existing or not. Okay, so I will click on allow, of course. Now let's say this data flow runs successfully. So this data flow runs successfully. Now what I will do is, and also I have to open my notepad so that I can make you understand that process. Fine. So firstly, what we will do is we will go to this SQL query section. So, after that export, what happens is there's a particular object which we have. Okay, that is something related to data set. Yeah, data set export. Okay. So whenever you export certain things, there will be an object called data set export where that ID will get stored. Okay. So what I will do through this, I will actually search for those IDs. 1 minute. Okay, ID publisher info and publisher type maybe. Okay, let me query this. Okay, now as you can see, I got this ID export and this one. So this is the first step. Okay, you have to fetch that ID first of all. So in the workbench, what you will do is, this is the first step through this query. You need to get the ID first. Okay, so the ID which I'll be getting is this one. So this is my ID. I will open this and I will just copy this ID. Okay, fine. I will just copy this ID which I got from the above query. Now the next process is basically, again, I will go to this SQL query. So there's one more object which we have just after dataset export, which is nothing but dataset export part. Okay. So in this object dataset export part, what I will do is I will select the ID, and there's something called as dataset export ID. Okay. So for this dataset export part, okay, let me first query this. Let me select the owner as well. So what I will do is, this ID which you got, right? So in this dataset export part object, this particular ID which is there, right? This particular ID becomes, okay, this ID, I have failed to copy it. Okay, never mind. Let me try one. So this ID becomes dataset export ID. Okay, so this is one thing you need to remember. And what I will do is, I will just write a where condition over here. Okay, where. So first of all, let me query this section. Okay, just to show you what are the results which will come. Anyways, we have only one of them, dataset export ID. So this is the dataset export ID which you saw. Okay, that is SAU, which you can see at last. Okay, now here is that ID which I got. Fine. So now what I will do is, I will click on this particular ID, and this is the ID which I'm getting from the dataset export part. Okay, so ID of dataset export part, I will note down this ID. This is this one. Fine. And maybe we can also write down the query. That is fine. Yeah, we can write down this query as well. Fine, over here. So finally, I just found out the ID of the dataset export part. Okay, that's the thing. Now what we will do is, we will come to this retrieve. Okay. Oh, sorry, not retrieve. It will be deploy. 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. Under utilities, you have something called as REST Explorer. Fine. So under utilities option, you have something called as REST Explorer. And of course, I tried this earlier as well. So there's something. So this is something I can copy, and you have to just edit this from here. Okay. So this is a format. Okay. So when you click on this utilities and REST Explorer, this is a format which you have to put up. Fine. Okay. So it's like forward slash services slash data slash v, whatever is the version of your workbench, slash s object slash dataset export part slash. Now here is the key. You have to paste this ID. Okay. So this was my earlier one of the IDs which I have done, but this is the ID which I have to put it over here. Okay. For some reason it doesn't get. Fine, let me try it one more time. So this is the final part which I have to paste. So services data v62.0 s object data set export part slash that ID which I got from data set export part, and finally slash dataset file. Now what I will do is, I will just put it over here. Fine, and I will click on execute. Now, when I click on execute, you can see, right, like this is the ID, name, stage name, and amount, and I'm getting all the IDs, the opportunity, the stage, and as well as the amount. So this is a complete repository, you can say, where I'm able to fetch data. Now, of course, I know this is more like a coded kind of a language which is there. Now, there are certain other tools. Honestly, I won't like cover over here, but there are certain tools where, through this, you can actually extract that as a CSV file. Fine, that can be done, but again, that could be a long process, and I am not covering that. But what I definitely wanted to convey through this video is, through that export note, what you can do is, you can have whatever data you want as a CSV, you can have it on a Salesforce repository. Workbench is one external tool through which I actually fetched it. There can be many other tools, and there is one tool, I think it's something related to Salesforce CLI, where you can extract the CSV file as well. Okay. However, I just wanted to convey you that through that export node, we had finally made it stored in a Salesforce in the form of a repository file. And this is the way you can view. So again, just to recap what we did. So basically, we took one SFDC digest node. You can take any node for that matter. That doesn't matter. And finally, over here, whatever data I have, like in this case, I know I have all the data related to opportunity, all the records. So now when you click on export, you have to ensure you make that integration user over there. Fine. And once that is done, once it runs successfully, you will open the workbench. Okay. The first step is you will go to SQL query, and this is the first step. So basically, once you export that data, there's an object called dataset export where it gets stored as an ID. So this ID will have all that repository of those information which is being there. And finally, when you get to know that ID, fine. After that, what you have to do is you have to, because at the end of the day, we want it to get exported. So in the dataset export ID, there will be one field called dataset export ID under dataset export part object. So you are extracting one part of it. So dataset export part object, there will be a field called dataset export ID. Now that ID which you got from the dataset export, that is nothing but your dataset export ID. Fine. And once you put that with where condition, because you must have seen I put that where condition. So here I have written where dataset export ID equal to this particular ID. Then it gave me one more ID. So that ID is nothing but a dataset export part ID, right? So this is that ID. Okay. And after that, what I have done is basically I went to utilities and REST Explorer. Fine. Under REST Explorer, there are various methods over here. Okay, we won't walk through in details. This is related to Salesforce development, but basically through this get, we can able to fetch the data. And what happened is basically I have been able to fetch the ID, name, stage name, and amount, and that's what was all there. Okay, over here. Fine. So that's the whole thing. Now coming to the practical application, there can be certain situations when this can be used. Okay, because try to understand here, we are not actually having the data set. Fine, we are not having the data set. We are directly storing it in export repository. Okay. However, if you go for a simple SFDC register node, you can simply go to the dataset and you can download as a CSV file. Maybe I will explain you in one of the session when we move to the designer layer of CR analytics. So that's the thing. Now the same thing we can also do it on the recipe side in a different version, which I will walk you through in the next video. But the process will remain the same. It's just that there's a different way of doing it on the recipe section. So yeah, that's about it. This is about the export node. Again, I haven't used it much in my practical life. I never got a chance, and I think that's something which is not needed. But again, from knowledge perspective, from certain times when you don't want the data set, or for some reason you don't have access to certain things, then in this way also you can set it up. Fine. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, not a very important topic, but again, it can be something which you can grasp it as an information. So yeah, that's it about this video, and we will meet soon in our next video. Thank you.